Hey, so it's Ross Richie. I'm the CEO and the founder of Boom Studios, and I'm about to show you the third part of my interview with Brian Azzarello. I think this, in some ways, might even be the most fun part of the entire interview. He really gets into a lot of great, fun stuff, going through the rest of his career and bringing us up to date with what he's worked on with Faithless, with Boom. So without any further ado, here comes Brian Azzarello, and I hope you enjoy it.
My sweet spot is if I get 50% of the people loving it and 50% of the people hating it. I love that. Is perfect for me.
Oh, that's interesting. So you kind of like, so you like to critique.
I like to generate conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And what is it in that as an author? Are you looking for how you can improve? So this is a craft thing.
No, I mean, I'm looking to see. I mean, I guess it's like I want what I'm doing to affect people. You know, the worst thing is crickets. That is like the worst.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
you put something out there and nobody says anything. It's like, oh boy, that wasted my time there.
Right, right, right. But let's deconstruct this for a second, because I think most writers' fantasy is you put the book out and 100% of the people love it.
That is not my fantasy. Not
Right.
even.
You've got a
That
very
is
specific
50. That is
fantasy.
50% of my fantasy.
Right, right, right. So what is it about the 50% of people not liking it that you like?
Well, they bought it, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So is it that you got their money, or is it, what is it?
Well, no, I mean, okay, that means there's, yes, I did get their money. That's not
Yep.
the big point, but the big point is I'm doing, for me is like, I'm generating stuff that is creating conversation,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, that people are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when you go see their reactions, is it instructive to see what they're interested in, what they're dislike?
I think there are some people that I'm interested in what they say. You know, most of the time I don't like reviews. I don't put a lot of
Yeah.
credence in them. You know, I know when I do something really good, I
Mm-hmm.
know it.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody else to tell me. And
Yeah.
I know, like, I've read things where people have really liked things that I've done. I'm like, oh, that was not one of my better moments, but okay.
And so, okay, so I'm a little bit, forgive me, because I'm a little bit fascinated about how you enjoy some of the grit and some of the pushback, or should we say tension? Or is it more emblematic of the fact that you like to push it? Do you like to kind of go to the area that some people are going to feel uncomfortable? Is it, here's the bad template. So just forgive me for a second. Is it sort of the punk rock in you that's like, I don't mind, or maybe it's the art school kid, because that's,
but that's the same person.
okay.
I was punk
Okay.
rock in art school.
Okay. Well, there it is. Ding, 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 ding. There it is. So that's good. And so, okay, so that's super interesting, because how does that play into, how do you feel? So you're growing up in Cleveland and you're feeling this sense of wanting to push it, wanting to rebel, you're wanting to get transgressive, you're wanting to kind of like creatively express yourself, and you're kind of want to go to the edge. And you're very, it feels very Midwestern to me to be completely fine with the pushback. You're like, oh, you don't like it? I'm not shocked at all. As opposed to, I think, like in Southern California, there would be feelings would be hurt. I artistically step on your toes. Why don't you love me?
No, I don't feel that way at all. I feel that if you don't like what I'm doing, you have every right not to like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing is not for everybody. I don't want it to be for everybody.
Yeah. 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 But it's for
And
you.
I don't want to tell. That's going back to like
the pandering.
Getting out in front of something. I don't want to tell people that it's for them. It's like,
yep.
I'm really, really, I have I'm embarrassed to do self-promotion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this is a really interesting place that you find yourself in, because you didn't envision a career as a writer, and you didn't necessarily even, it sounds like, envision yourself a career as a painter. And so you're going
I
down
never
a path.
envisioned myself having a
A
career.
career. Okay. All right. Maybe a series of jobs, right?
Yeah.
And so
This is the longest job I've had. Every job before then was like, it was 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, you know, just like that.
that's interesting. That's interesting. And so now you're in this place where you get this once in a lifetime opportunity where you have this moment with Lou, where you connect, and you connect as people. And I'm going to really outline this as like any business that the core engine is superheroes, and that's often continuity driven. That's often, who's the fan favorite, all that sort of stuff. And you're connecting with Lou, who doesn't have any of that wiring or programming. Zing, he opens the door for you. You come in, you deliver with this Phantom Stranger pitch, which is a huge thing, a big ask, too big an ask, but that then opens up the door for Johnny Double. Axel comes to your support. You're fostering 100 Bullets, the right idea at the right time. Bam. And the way in the business that 100 Bullets and Transmet and some other titles really become this vanguard of what really, I would argue, how the business publishes today. Certainly the way that we think about it at Boom, for sure. And I definitely think the way that it's thought about at Image. And then you step through that door, and now you're in a place where you're almost going to be a victim of your own success, because you're given this huge stage to do Batman after Jim Lee, and you bring your crew, you bring the band, and now you're kind of in a place where modern superhero storytelling is completely obsessed with what version of the Bat car, which version of Batgirl are we doing? A lot of continuity. I can't even keep track of it all, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm the master of any of this, but it's very focused on what the audience wants. If we're going to use, if you're punk rock, the example we're going to use is, this is about power chords. You're just going to play big, poppy power chords, put butts in seats, and you're in a place where you're being drawn into this side of the business that you don't necessarily have a real affinity for. So at that time, what is that like?
What was it like?
What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I don't know. It's like it's like Sid Vicious covering My Way. Okay, that's what it was.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, it sounds like you do Broken City, and you get more than 50% pushback.
We got some pushback. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it was, well, I think it was, man, they collected it. It's in a hardcover. It's been, it's still published. So, people are buying it.
At
the time it was the antithesis of a year they had just gone through with Hush.
Yeah.
Hush was like, each issue featured another villain. It was like, let's see how Jim draws Penguin. Let's see how Jim, it was big. It was a, they wanted a blockbuster.
Yep. And they got one.
Yeah. And then, we come in with like some French film noir version of Batman, or like, the Maltese Falcon, something like,
That's what makes it great.
Pretty much treated that. I treated that costume like it was a trench coat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, film noir detective part of Batman. Yeah.
And it was a tragedy. It didn't have a happy ending. It was a tragedy.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Very not what the audience is used to. Usually superhero stories have happy endings. Yeah. So, okay, so bam, Batman, and then what comes after that?
Well, we went back to 100 Bullets.
Yep. And that's, building even bigger and bigger and bigger. I want to say
we did 6. That was the year we did 6 issues that year. It was half of our normal output.
Yep.
And we won the Eisner.
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck's going? It's like, it's like this. None of this stuff makes, it just doesn't matter. None of it makes sense. They'll try to make any sense out of it. Like it just happens.
Yeah, good. Well, it's good as a creative person that you don't try to predict it, because it's so unpredictable. Without any, I love Jackie and everybody that runs the Eisners, but I go every year and I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no concept, and every year the judges are different and they come from a different perspective, and so.
Yeah.
But certainly that Eisner earned. Let me just hashtag this with earned, and definitely deserved. So that's a.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't resist. Why do you say that?
I don't know if that was our best year. I mean, there was only 6 issues.
Right. Well, was it for the series or was it for specific issues?
It was the best series that year, I think. Yeah, it was best series.
Okay. All right.
And then, well, do they just want 6? That's all they want a year? Is that what makes it best? Like we're giving them too much at 12? It's like, what?
Well, see, I'm going to be the publisher, and I'm also going to say that, Batman is bringing more attention and eyeballs, and
I don't know if we actually got much of a bump.
Right. But attention.
Yeah, I guess.
And I think, nowadays there's so much stuff going on, and certainly that was, what we're talking about like 15 years ago, right? So back then there was less going on, but still people are busy, and you think people are paying attention and they're not. And when you can have these moments to draw attention, it helps. And sometimes that's the little thing that you need to like get over the hump. It's just that extra ooch, and it might have happened on the year that you're creatively thinking that it shouldn't have. So okay, well, that Eisner wins. So you're the guy with the Eisner. That's a nice night. That doesn't suck. So that'll kick back some craft beer that I know you love. So it's a good evening. And what happens after that? What's the next?
Was it Superman?
Yeah, I think it was Superman. Yeah. Okay, so how the hell do you talk Brian Azzarello into writing Superman?
You get a call from Jim Lee and he asks you if you want to write Superman. I'm like, no, I don't want to write Superman. But like I said before, I was like, oh, it's already been decided.
And I'm also tracking in here, you seem very comfortable with the word no, but it seems like Jim Lee can get you to do just about anything.
It's already done. I'm telling you.
The sages say it is written in the book.
When he asks, it's like the answer is already,
yeah,
it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so was that something that you looked at creatively and you said, well, this is a puzzle, so sort of the problem solving of the character is going to be interesting? Or did you look at it as a creative challenge? Or
I stuck with no for a while, and then I'm thinking about it, and it's like, what would I do? How could I tell a Superman story? How, what's the angle? What do I want to do? And I came up with an angle and a story and something that could be said about the character. And so I agreed to do it. These characters have been around for so long, and pretty much, everything's been said about them. And if I don't want to do anything that anybody else has ever done.
Mm-hmm.
It's already there.
Yep.
So if I can do something that is new, I'll do it.
Yeah.
If I can't, then there's no reason.
And so that, I think, really brings you into, in a more permanent way, I think, the mainstream DC universe, in a place that you've really inhabited in the past 10 to 15 years. And I think been really essential to their publishing. And I think it's interesting, again, as somebody that artistically and creatively doesn't come from that space, to find yourself, you go on to do Wonder Woman, that's the Trinity, the number of people that get to write all 3 series is very slim. Even some of the Legends Hall of Famers that you think of didn't actually write all 3 characters. big runs. And so this is, I think, an interesting thing. I mean, were you just processing at one assignment that gets pitched to you at a time? How did you think about it? Did you start to get into, okay, well, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to get proactive with some of the characters I want to play with, or like, how are you processing?
No, I never, no. The only character, the regular character that I would want to play with on a kind of a regular basis is Constantine. That's it.
Wow.
Wonder Woman. I did Wonder Woman because of what they were going to do to Wonder Woman, and I was appalled.
What were they going to do to Wonder Woman?
I'm not going to tell you what they were going to do to her.
We'll never know, but they were going to do something horrible, and you heard about it.
This was Dan and Jim were publishers at this time, and they've been trying to get me to take one of the Justice League characters.
Mm-hmm.
Just take one, you can have your pick, whichever one you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nah. And then I finally came up, it's like, I could do this with this person. This would be kind of interesting. So I pitched it to him, and then this is when they're getting ready to do the new 52, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm out to dinner with Dan, and they've got ideas for all the characters. And I'm like, so what are you going to do with Wonder Woman? And he told me what he was going to do. And I was like, you can't do that. I go, that is going to be. And listen, I had no connection to that character at all. Mm-hmm. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't do that. That is, you will fundamentally hurt that character. That is a really, 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 really bad idea.
Wow.
And he goes, well, that's what we're going to do. And then I'm like, well, what if you do this instead? And then at the end of the dinner, I'm writing Wonder Woman, and I'm not writing the other character anymore. They wanted me to do both, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do both.
So basically, to get you to do more Boom stuff, I need to take you out to dinner and then pitch you some really bad ideas.
Works every time.
All right, you heard it here first. So when you get more Azzarello at Boom, you'll know where it came from. Wow, that is interesting. And so okay, so if you will forgive me, there is a bit of sort of you taking the hit, right, to prevent sort of the bad idea. So it's like, you're stepping in front of Andrew Rev to try to help people get paid. You're stepping in front of Dan DiDio here to help out Wonder Woman so that she doesn't get sent down a creative direction that would not be good for her.
Oh, I thought her fans and just the idea of Wonder Woman would have really been
eroded. Yeah. And so this is interesting because you're spending a lot of time at conventions. You are inundated with superhero culture. You're writing superheroes. They're not your native voice. They're not the thing that you have a lot of affinity for. And so how are you processing and thinking about it? I mean, are you thinking about them as mythic characters, or how are you creatively approaching
people that read superhero comics read my superhero comics and say those aren't superhero comics? I mean, we got accused when we were doing Wonder Woman that we were doing Wonder Woman in a Vertigo style, which we were.
Right. Yeah. So you don't think about it. You don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're going to do the story that's interesting to you. Yeah. And now we're back to the 50-50, right?
Yeah.
And so,
and with Wonder Woman, all right, when I pitched that, this is, again, I gave them all 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Sign off on it.
Wow.
And so that all of those little events that happened where everything was crossing over and all that stuff that was going on, I didn't have to do.
Wow. And did you bake that in, or just when they called you, you said no?
Did what?
When they had events that needed to cross over into the book, did you say from the genesis, you were like, I am not going to play when it comes time to do the big crossover? Or when they called you up and said, put this in the book, you said no?
I said you signed off on the pitch.
Wow. Oh, so you see that as a way to protect yourself. You're like, here's the 3 years. This is what we're doing. That's the blueprint. We're not changing. Got
Well,
it.
I mean, I can change. I mean, it's not that rigid, but definitely it's like that, you know, and they were, Dan was, he was very supportive of that.
That's great. That's great.
You know,
Good.
the Wonder Woman Superman affair that came out of left field.
Mhm.
So that was a bit of a monkey wrench in what I was doing, but he never appeared in the book, never even mentioned it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So that's just going on at the same time and you're just doing your thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so now I understand when you say it was a bit of a monkey wrench, you're like, they didn't call you and give you a heads up either. And I'm not trying to criticize them. It's just like,
No.
learning.
And I think it caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah. Okay. So, so after Wonder Woman, so here you have these notable historic runs on, you know, the big three. For anybody else, I would have said, well, obviously you've got to do Justice League next, but for you, you don't have the same sort of boxes that, you know, usually superhero writers want to tick, where they want to.
I don't know if I do Justice League.
Yeah. I would think not. Or the Justice League that you would do would be so utterly completely different than the Justice League anybody was expecting.
I've always thought if I did do Justice League, it would be like a team, like a sports team. Like Batman and Superman would have the same relationship that Kobe and Shaq had. Like, we're on the same team, but we do not like each other.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, that's almost a bit more of the Frank Miller take on the characters, or sort of
it's
like,
similar. Right?
yeah, kind of that immediate post-crisis where there was a lot of tension between them. Okay, so that's cool. So now let's see. Now let's move more into the modern era stuff. I defer to you. Are there any Hellblazers that I'm forgetting about along the way here?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, leaving out some major things. So tell me some about Moonshine, which you did at Image, which
Still doing that.
yes,
We're just starting the
Very
final
successful.
arc. Yeah,
Yep.
right now.
Yep. So tell me some about sort of the idea and how did the genesis, and like getting back with Eduardo is like a huge deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, we do things like we did Spaceman together.
Yep.
100, that was after 100 Bullets. I mean, we
Yep.
work together, then he'll go away and then we come back together, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry to leave Spaceman out.
Oh, don't worry about it. But Moonshine's been really fun. I hate it when people say this, but I'm going to say it. I think it's like the best work of his career. He's really doing some incredible stuff because he's coloring, nothing against Trish or any of the other colorists that have worked on him, but he's coloring it himself. So his black and white sensibility, which has always been super strong, now is an element of color. So he's really.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Complete design. It's nice, really nice to be working on. The stories, I really like the story. I like the character a lot.
Well, it's you know, I can see, you know, the hybrid. I want to say it's a weird war tale, right? If you understand what I mean by that. I mean,
I know
what
you mean.
You know, that the sort of the mixture of the noir that you love and monster fiction that you grew up with. Yeah, I can see that super clear. That's really cool. That's got a great spirit and it got a great mindset to it. So now I'm gonna pander a little bit because I know that we have some Boom fans watching this, and so let's talk about how did you come to do Faithless?
I wanted to work with Sierra for a while.
Okay, so Sierra is Sierra Hahn, and Sierra worked at DC in the publicity department before she decided she wanted to be a comic book editor, and she went to Dark Horse. So she moved from New York to Portland to work at Dark Horse as an editor, and then came to work at Boom some years back. And so she kept saying to us, you know, hey, I think, you know, maybe we could do something with Az. And we're like, yeah. Okay, cool, great. When can we do that? That'd be awesome. Let's go. And then she'd be like, well, let me talk to him. Well, let me talk to him. And so she's reaching out to you, or how's
Yeah,
that
when I
working?
first pitched it to her, it was young adult.
Wow. Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought that the concept, it's like, this is like, this girl's having an affair with another girl, and then she gets involved with her dad, and the dad's the devil. It's like, that just sounds young adult to me.
Right, right. Well, it's interesting because it's like what you're saying, there's a Twilight version of what you're saying. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shiny vampire version of what you're saying.
Yeah.
And the Harlequin romance of that, is kind of what you're saying. And that makes a lot of sense, although it's incredibly hilarious when you look at what we did, to go back and think that there was a YA version of that.
It was the same conversation where she kind of nudged me in the other direction. She goes, why don't we make it erotic instead?
I remember that it was Sierra's idea to make it erotic.
Yeah.
And, that was something that definitely Boom was not known for doing. And in particular for myself, I know that when you push the content specifically in a more sexual direction, it opens the door quite frequently for things to be done not at a craft level. It's like, hey, we're going to put some titillation in here, we're going to put some sexual content in here, and we're going to sell some books. And it's definitely a sound publishing strategy because sex sells. And so I know in the environment at Boom that she was taking a chance and taking a risk that, we could go in that direction. And what I knew was that Sierra has she's such a talent, and she executes at such a high level. And I, of course, felt comfortable with you and your work. And so I knew that we were going to go do something that was smart and sophisticated and had something to say. And because of those different elements, I felt more comfortable going in that direction, because I knew at the end of the day, it wasn't just about, for lack of a better expression, shock.
No, it wasn't. Plus, I think when we put the team together, and it turns out I was the only male on the team, it didn't turn out that way. That was something that I was very, very, I pushed Sierra on. It's like, we need to get a woman artist. We need this. It's like, I need you guys, you women, to keep me honest here. I'm writing, an erotic story about some, mid-20s girl. It's like, well, what do I know about them? I'm like,
right.
Not much anymore.
Well, that comes back to me, the 50% pushback, right? And so
Yeah.
You're looking for alternative viewpoints. You're looking for ideas that are not yours, and you're looking for people to, as you say, keep you honest. And that really clicks for me now. That sort of not wanting to live in an echo chamber. So that's creatively, I think, very smart.
Unfortunately, that's what we've been in for the past 8 months, echo chambers.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that has many, many meanings and many layers to it. And I agree with all of it. Okay. So Sierra nudges you in that direction. And do you find yourself just very naturally going in that direction, or did you have to kind of?
Yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't think we were doing anything gratuitous, or, there was definitely, titillation, but we knew we were doing what we were doing. We weren't doing it just to, it served the story. It's part of the story.
Yeah.
Sitting down to write the first script and writing what I was like, I can't believe I'm describing what I'm describing for Maria, the artist, to draw. I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing.
Feeling a little self-conscious.
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, if I'm not getting this right, go ahead and change it. I mean,
yeah. And did she?
I guess I got it right.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that is that works so well on that book and one of the reasons it's been so successful is that I think Sierra finding Maria to pair with your work and how fearless Maria is, her own work as a writer and as an artist is very emotional and raw and naked, and she is very interested in pushing it to the limit, but not in a sensationalistic way, in a more sort of vulnerable way. And I think that that was a great pairing because,
Oh yeah.
you know, you're such an amazing storyteller, and then you had the right kind of cohort and partner in crime to kind of encourage you on the direction, but everybody kind of was focused, I think, as a team to tell the smart literary. I think there's a literary quality that it has that I think people find very magnetic. It keeps you coming back on that book, is the layers to it. And it's, it sometimes it reads more like my Texas is going to come out, but it feels like it reads like a fancy novel.
A fancy novel.
well, more than novelistic, it feels more, I'm especially thinking about the second arc of like the journey to Europe and sort of that more sort of in the journey that you take through the art world in the first arc. That's a very, it's beyond literary, right? It's not just literary, because you can tell literary stories at a farm. There's more of a sense of like this going to New York and being in the high society. It's not really the artistic society. It's not really high society per se.
Yeah, but that's something that I've always tried to do with the stories I tell. It's like, I think one of the things that makes comics really unique is we get to take people to places that they haven't been before.
Wow, that's huge.
I
think you're dead right about that. Oh my God, I can't believe I never thought of that. Wow, you nailed it. That's amazing. So then I would say to you as a creative, where did comics take you that you had never been before first?
It took me to a swamp in Louisiana.
Yeah. Absolutely. It took you to World War II.
Yeah.
Yep.
It took me to Ragnarok. That was Thor 200. That's a special book for me.
Wow. I know exactly the book you're talking about. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not that different in age. Yeah.
It was Ragnarok. It was awesome. They all died. I thought it was, read it again and again and again. And then Thor 201 came out and they're alive. I'm like, what is this shit?
Oh, the pain of the first time. I remember when I thought that the Fantastic Four actually died. And then the next issue came out and they were just fine. And there's always that first time when you're reading and you're like, oh, they need to sell the next issue.
Yeah.
So they're never really going to die. There's the thing for me when I was younger, which was this notion of like, the Batman's going to catch the Joker's going to jail, and the Joker's going to break out. And that's just going to happen over and over and over and over again. But I've got this thing over here, like 100 bullets, where I have absolutely no idea how it's going to end. And it could do anything, and it's not going to repeat.
I finally have addressed that problem with Batman. Just recently in it's a short story that Lee Bermejo and I are doing. That's somebody else I've worked with forever.
Yes.
We did Joker. We just did.
We skipped over Batman Damned. What the hell am I doing?
We did.
I'm the worst. Okay, we're going to pivot back to Batman Damned. But go ahead. But go ahead and talk about the story you're doing with Lee.
Like, why doesn't he do that? Why does he let why doesn't he kill anybody? Yeah. Why does he let these killers, And I wrote a line in the story where it's like, he doesn't want anybody to feel the way he felt when his parents were killed. He can't be responsible for that.
Wow. That's amazing. That's great.
And that kind of, to me, it's like, okay, it's very selfish of him, but it explains why he just puts them in jail and they break out again. He puts them in jail. Like why he doesn't use more fatalistic means with crime.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's a character. Okay, so let's pivot back and talk about Batman Damned.
Sure.
So first of all, huge moment. Look, I'm going to be a nerd here, and I'm going to say this is a bande dessinée format. So for those that don't know, French comics are told at the more of magazine aspect ratio size and the 48-page to 64-page format. And so Batman Damned is in this very unusual format for a comic book shop. For global comics, it's not unusual.
Yeah.
And certainly for guys like you and me that read Epic Magazine and all these other things, this is not a weird format. But tell me about, is this Jim Lee gives you a call and he says, hey, guess what you're doing?
There was some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, when we were developing this, it was like they wanted Black Label to stand out. So they were like, let's make it a different size.
That's audacious as hell, because the direct market for the most part rejects other sizes. So that's amazing.
No, they didn't get enough of this one.
Yeah, they did not reject this one, that's for sure.
No.
And so tell me some about the development of the story and the inspiration and sort of the genesis and how you get paired with Lee.
Oh, well, we paired each other, you know.
Okay. So you told him I'm doing this with Lee?
Yeah, I was talking to Jim about it, and this was a story that was sort of kicking around a little bit. And that story was more of a Batman goes to hell, but this became something else. But it grew out of that. Mm-hmm. And after I talked to Jim, I called up Lee and I was like, what do you think about this? And because Lee has we'd been talking about like Deadman and Etrigan and some of the Constantine and some of the more, the supernatural characters of the DCU. And yep. I'm like, do you want to do this? And he was like, hell yeah, I want to do it. So,
Wow. And how were you? I remember, I'm gonna step on my own punchline. I know there was a lot of brouhaha about Batman's nakedness in this book, and
Batman's dick.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the elephant in the room about that, or have you talked about it until you're blue in the face?
I don't think that DC handled it correctly.
Gotcha. And so from your vantage point, is that something that you want to talk about? And if you don't, I'm totally cool. But what do you feel like was not, didn't work?
It was in there. Everybody knew it was in there. Everybody in the office knew it was in there. That page was in for over a year, Mm-hmm. It was all, there was nothing, It didn't come out of nowhere.
Well, it certainly did create a firestorm of interest and controversy.
Couldn't have launched Black Label any better.
I totally agree. And
here's an imprint nobody's heard of. The next day, everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I was really amazed and happy and thrilled to see that even after Damned had finished as a miniseries, that flashpoint of interest and I would go as far as to even say excitement carried over to a very successful launch across, all those other books that they launched off the back of that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was terrific. I love anything new, and I love new things succeeding. So I loved the format. I loved the page count and the format and the price point, which are all big changes. And then creatively, the door that was thrown open for a lot of creators to be able to tell stories that were very, very different. And so how did you think about, was your philosophy and approach with Damned where you were just like, let's do a Batman story that's rated R. I'm going to do a Batman story that I care about, that is important and creatively cohesive to me and a part of my voice for the character, or what I think the character's voice is, but I'm going to be able to be turned up in such a way that I can do something that's more like Seven, for lack of a better expression, or
That's what the new movie looks like to me.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't, well, okay, they're Black Label. Black Label actually spun out of Joker, which came out 10 years before Black Label.
I didn't ever put that together.
No, it was when Joker came out, there was nothing else like it. It sold incredibly well.
Wow.
So Will Dennis, who edited it, who's another editor, like I've had really great editors in my life. I'm really lucky. Will then and Mark Doyle, who was Will's assistant, were like, we need to have like this thing exists in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to follow it, and we shouldn't, as a company, we shouldn't have let that happen.
Wow.
So they were calling it, before it was called Black Label, it was called Jokerverse.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that was just sort of like the in-house, reference point to it.
Wow.
And then I had developed something for what was going. That was all going forward and going forward and going forward. Then Watchmen came out and it didn't do well. So then, like, no R-rated superheroes.
Gotcha.
Watchmen the film, not the TV show. So then it got shelved. And then Jim brought it out when he said, "We're going to call it Black Label. We're going to do this. Can you kind of retrofit this one story that you were thinking of doing, but do it for mature readers?" Like, yes, I can do that. I can do a Batman for mature readers. And it's about time you want to do a Batman for mature readers. And we're talking about it, and I'm like, what is I'm talking to Dan DiDio, and it's like, what are my parameters? And he goes, well, you know what you can do and what you can't do. I'm like, no, you got to tell me what I can do. I need to know. It's like, you know. It's like, HBO. And he said, yes.
That's a great way to put it.
So that was my, HBO.
Yeah.
By the way, there's male nudity on HBO.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything that wasn't on HBO. There was no, and it wasn't even, it was just, he was naked. There wasn't even any sex.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I think massively successful launched an entire line at DC that really broke a lot of ground and changed a lot of things. I know that sort of format is something that we look at Boom and think about publishing into, because that was unthinkable before Damned. I mean, it was absolutely impossible. So it's incredible that it's, huge accomplishment. Look at that, changed the business again.
I was talking to Jim about Faithless.
Yeah.
And he's like, why didn't you bring that to us? And I'm like, what?
and what do you say?
Like, if I brought it to you, it wouldn't have been published.
And did he agree with you?
Maybe.
Well, this is where you and I get to tell the story that we had over dinner after the first arc was published. When you came to town, we went out to dinner to celebrate the first arc. Mm-hmm. And we had that moment when I had shared with you that Bryce Carlson, who's our VP of editorial, came to me and he said, I have this really great idea for Faithless. And what we're going to do is we're going to do these erotic covers and we're going to bag them. And we're going to bag them in such a way that you can't see the erotic art. And we're going to offer them individually so that if you're a retailer and you don't want to order that cover, you don't have to. Okay. And I thought, well, that's great. I mean, the only way that is bad is if the retailer can't see the cover. So the retailer needs to be able to, however we do digitally, this is obviously going to be sexualized content. And so, it's going to be important how it's processed through Diamond, that it's the sort of thing that they can understand. As long as a retailer can understand what they're ordering, then they can order it or not order it. And I thought it was a terrific idea and a great way to get attention and a great way to build excitement and a great way to do, again, something different. And I would go so far as to even say fun, with something that I knew was going to have real dimension to it, you know, that literary quality that your work has. And I think it's always good when you can create a poppy element to something that has great depth, because then you're playing at both ends of the spectrum. You know, when like you know, those songs that are really saying something, but they're catchy as hell, right? And so then they started to make the cover, and they came to me and said, you know, hey boss, you know, we want to make sure that you see this so that you don't get caught off guard. You know, it's a little much. And I said, oh, hell no. You know, I can't possibly see this. If you show this thing to me, I'm not going to let you publish it. So make sure that whatever, as we go forward, make sure I don't see the erotic covers, because I was going to say the conservative in me, I'm not sure there is a conservative in me, but the conservative part of me will come out and not want to take the risk. So thank God I haven't looked at those covers, and they have been incredibly successful and have been very well received.
Yes, they have.
You know, and I think that's a testament to, you know, Sierra again, of her skill and casting and, you know, tremendous artistic talent that we've had. That,
well, Tula's covers they're something else, man. She's
a genius.
Yeah.
She is really amazing. I saw her at WonderCon right after that first issue came out, and she was a little bit scared of me. And I was like, no, you're magical and amazing. I have absolutely no idea what these covers look like, but I know your work, and you're incredible. And, you know, I'm too milquetoast to actually look at it, but you know your own limitations, I think, is a key piece of life. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for taking this huge chunk of time to give me the walkthrough. And it was so much fun to unpack and to see. And I think that there's so much good stuff here. You know, I think I was telling you before, and I will tell you now on camera, you know, I think your breaking in story is one of the great success stories, because you really go down a very different path. And, you know, as we talked about, you were looking for jobs and you ended up with a career. And it's quite unusual, and I think could be inspirational to people. And I think the thing that's so amazing is you had the talent, and you had figured out how to hone and craft the skill, so that when the opportunity presented itself, you were really able to deliver. And I think that Phantom Stranger pitch, being so effective and going all the way up the chain but not going, you know, if that had gone, you would have never had 100 bullets.
Probably not.
Yeah, and the path would have been very different. And so I think it's all quite amazing how that story plays out and how it all clicks together. So I hope that creative people find it encouraging, that you might not know what the path is in front of you, but to keep pursuing it and finding opportunities, and when the opportunities present themselves, to deliver. So
yeah, don't know what no means.
That's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's even better when it's rendered with a punk rock sensibility.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, take it easy, man.
All right, you got it.
Wasn't that fun? I love Azzarello. I could talk to that guy forever. And he did such a great job breaking down how he thinks in this 50% like and 50% dislike aim as a storyteller, and lots of good stuff, process, craft that was in that interview. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much.